Unlike your typical web-based QA tools, TestChimp is built to enable your coding agents to run your QA workflow by tapping onto your production and product context. In this video, we will see how you can set up your cursor or Cloud agent to work with TestChimp platform. To do so, you can go to the TestChimp web app and then click on the copy install prompt button. This will copy a prompt that you can paste onto your cursor or Cloud agent, which will install our TestChimp skill, which will teach your agent how to communicate with the TestChimp platform to get various insights that is useful for your QA workflow. And after installing, what you need to do is invoke our skill by saying /TestChimp and run the init workflow. Now this workflow will do a bunch of things such as installing your MCP and CLI tools that will communicate with the TestChimp platform to get the product and production context, and set up things like how you do true coverage, how you do testing in your local environment, and so on. And how TestChimp communicates with your coding agent is via MCP tool or CLI that requires an API key and a project ID to be configured. So you can go to the project config and copy the project ID and API key from there and paste it to the mcp.json file that is created under your project. Typically for cursor, it will be a .cursor folder. Make sure that you don't commit it to your Git repository by adding to your .gitignore file because the API key is a sensitive information. Now you can see it guides you through various key areas that it wants to focus on. So the first area is true coverage. So true coverage is how TestChimp learns about how your real users are interacting with the product. How it does it is it instruments your code base with events. So for instance, if you consider any e-commerce website, you might have events such as a checkout or add a coupon or pay with a credit card and so on. And for each of those events, it will identify different metadata slices. For a payment, you might want to know what is the payment method and so on. And in the init flow, what it will do is if you say go ahead with the true coverage, it will install the instrumentation libraries we have for all the platforms we support, such as web, iOS, and Android. And it will do the wire up and write the boilerplate code and everything to have true coverage set up. The second important aspect that it will touch upon during init flow is how you test your PRs. Because a PR to be tested, you need an environment where the PR changes are live. So there are a couple of options here. One is you can use a locally spun up environment, or if your backend stack is heavy, you could use an environment as a service provider. We have a partnership with Bunny Show, which provides you ephemeral environments, scope 2 or PRs. If you want to go down that route, configure your Bunny Show YAML file and then add your API key in the TestChimp integrations. Now I'll tell to proceed with the true coverage instrumentation. And for PR testing on this demo app, we will use a local stack because it's a very simple one backend database and mobile frontend application. You can see it has written a true coverage instrument progress markdown file with the events that it has identified. You can see auth events, menu and cart related events, checkout related, account information related, and so on. Some are planned and some are done already. The planned ones will be picked up on later evolve workflows or test workflows. And after the init flow is completed, it creates this special file called AI test instructions, which goes under the knowledge folder in your plans folder. This details all the decisions that it took in collaboration with you, such as how to do environment provisioning for PR testing, and what are some common issues that it encountered while setting up the environment and how to mitigate them, the true coverage plan, your decisions on how to do mocking in parts of your stack, your decisions around how to run TestChimp, and so on. And this will be consulted every time you run your testing workflow, so that it will always execute based on the decisions that was already agreed upon. And for each event that it instruments, it creates an event.md file under the events folder in your plans folder. And in that, it will describe the rationale for that event and the metadata slices that it chose to instrument. So you can see over here, it has identified orders count bucket, entry auth kind, the platform, how many line items are there in the cart, and so on. And these metadata slices will be captured for your production environment as well as testing environment to identify coverage gaps compared to your production user behavior versus what is tested. And this allows to address them in the future evolve workflows and test workflows. To give you a quick glimpse of how it looks like, you can go to your true coverage page and select a base scope and a coverage scope, and you can see the event funnel. Over here, you can see some events are tested and some events are not tested. And you can zoom in into a single event, which will show the core stats about that event, such as how frequently it occurs, whether users are dropping off at that event, what is the event transition funnel starting from that event, and the metadata slicing, and whether they are covered in testing or not. And these insights are made available to your coding agents via the MCP, which is used to optimize your QA workflows going forward. And in the next video, we will talk about how to invoke a testing workflow right after every single PR you author.